Whenever we discuss about international affairs or world politics, we often hear the term Cold War, be it the international organizations such as NATO, NAM, the EU, or the international treaties on arms and ammunition such as the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Strategic Arm Limitation Talks, the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, or the space race, or the current instability hotspots such as the Korean Peninsula or Afghanistan. It all has its origin due to or its relation with the Cold War. So what exactly Cold War is? When did it begin? What were the reasons which led to the beginning of this war? Why in particular this war is called cold? And what were its implications, of which the ripples are felt even today? So let's begin. Cold War refers to the competition, tension, and series of confrontation between US and Soviet Union backed by their allies. The Cold War was not simply about the power rivalries of military alliances and of balance of power. These were backed by serious ideological conflict as which is the best way to organize the social, political, and economic arrangements of a country. The Western Alliance headed by US represented liberal democracy and capitalism, whereas the Eastern Alliance headed by Soviet Union represented socialism and communism. So it is considered that Cold War began at the end of the Second World War. As we all know, the Second World War ended with US bombing two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Since most of the war was fought in Europe and European countries being devastated and their economy destroyed, the consequence of the end of Second World War was the emergence of two powers, namely US and Soviet Union. So this war being called cold is backed by the logic of deterrence. The logic of deterrence says that since both the sides had the capacity and power to retaliate an attack and cause such a destroying and devastating impact that neither of the country would have been able to afford a war. Thus, the Cold War, in spite of being an intense rivalry between the US and Soviet Union, remained cold, not a hot or shooting war. But even though there was no direct confrontation of US and Soviet Union on a battlefield, there were some wars fought in the countries other than these two, and these wars were called proxy wars. Some example of the proxy wars being fought are at the places such as Korea, Afghanistan, Congo, and Vietnam. So as the confrontation between these two powers grew, they both formed their own alliances. The Western countries formed the alliance called NATO, and the Eastern Alliance formed the grouping known as the Warsaw Pact in 1955 to counter the effect of NATO. So as this Cold War impacted the whole world, it impacted India too. And its impact on India is quite significant. India, under the leadership of its Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, and with the leaders of other four countries, namely Yugoslavia, Egypt, Indonesia, and Ghana, formed the non-aligned movement. The first summit of non-aligned movement was conducted in 1961 in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. The non-aligned movement helped the newly independent countries at that time to stay out of these two alliances. So this war went on till the disintegration of USSR. In 1991, the only superpower left was the US. The consequences of Cold War are quite significant even today. The organizations which were formed, the international treaties on nuclear arms, the space achievements which the humans could achieve are some of the landmarks of the human history. Thank you.